how to deal with land, real estate, mortgages, right? Because that's where the so-called white man get all of his laws from. His business laws and taxes and things of that nature. He get it from the book of Leviticus, the 25th chapter. So Leviticus 25 covers every law about biblical business, redemption of land, redemption if a man may have been waxing poor or had to sell something and had to buy it back, right? Land rest, and we're going to cover all that in the book of Leviticus chapter 25.
This is Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses in Mount Sinai, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord.
Right, so you have a Sabbath that we have, 6 days, we have to work, and a day of rest. The land has to have a Sabbath too. Everything has to rest. Even on an ordinary Sabbath, the Lord speaks about our animals and oxen, that they have to rest. You know, any animal that you have that does work, that plows, that labors, has to rest. Even your land is required to have a time period, a whole year, that you don't have to till, shovel, break in the ground, and basically till the land. That's what it's going to, right? And Gad, the so-called Native Americans, they actually kept that commandment, right? They would travel from land to land, and when they would be on one land and till it for years and years, they would go to another land and allow that land to rest, right? And then they would go back to that land after a period of time until that land was replenished back to its natural state.
This is Exodus. This is Exodus chapter 23 and verse 10. In 6 years shalt thou sow thy land, and shalt gather in the fruits thereof. But the 7th year thou shalt let it rest and lie still, that the poor of thy people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. And like manner thou shalt deal with thy vineyard and thy olive yard.
Right. And this is called, when you look up, when you look into it, it's called a fallow year. Right? A fallow year is a year that farmers will have where they would take again a year off from farming and tilling the land and allow that land to rest. Right? The land has to work and bring forth nutrients. The soil has to constantly supply the roots, and sometimes that can wear out the land. When you constantly bring forth the same crop in the same land, it'll bring pests, it'll bring different rodents, serpents, and things of that nature that become used to what you're growing in that land. So if you take that land and allow it to rest, you're not sowing and planting those pests and other animals, you have to find somewhere else to eat. You know, so it brings order even with nature. If you don't have, in the ancient world, if you wasn't doing the land Sabbath, you had a concept called crop rotation. Crop rotation is, if me and Amos are farmers and we grow corn every year, until that 7th year or 8th year, we're going to switch the crops that we grow. Instead of growing corn, now we're going to plant sweet potatoes, right? And that allow that soil and the nutrients that's used for corn to rest, and then other nutrients used to bring forth that sweet potatoes, it allow that land to be replenished. So you had crop rotation or you had a fallow year, right? And there's actually a place out in Europe, I can't remember the exact name of it, but they speak about the fallow year that they keep where they allow the land to rest. So you have to have a land Sabbath, and they don't keep that in America, right? When does the so-called white man come around? Everybody got a garden. You got these big farmers that's producing for the grocery stores, and they come around and say, look, this year, no more tilling the ground. All right, they're not keeping that. Let's go to Isaiah 24:5, man. They're not keeping a land Sabbath. That's why the whole earth is defiled, man. That's why the ground look the way it do. You can't grow crop certain areas, man. Right? The so-called white man, he wants to grow and say, well, this is bad land. Well, they made it bad, man. You didn't abuse the earth. Right? Let's get that Isaiah 24:5.
Isaiah chapter 24 and verse 5. The earth also defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant.
Right, so they changed the laws, man. Because they don't keep a land Sabbath. That's why the earth is defiled. Right? That's why the water is defiled, because the so-called white man said you can just throw anything in the water. Oil, waste, trash. And you see the Baltimore Harbor, man. We know the harbor didn't look like that 2,000 years ago, man. Right? Now it's black. grimy brown. It's a stench. Right? Back in the ancient times, that water was clear, man. Like when you go to St. Lucia, the Bahamas, and you can look down at the bottom and see the ocean floor. And the harbor used to be like that, man. Right? But the so-called white man defiled the earth. So that's why he got to get put out the earth, man. All right? So let's go back. You have something?
No.
Let's go to Psalms chapter, let's go to Psalms, what is that, chapter 85? Let's see if that's what I want. 82 and 5. I believe that's what I want. Psalms chapter 82 and verse 5. Come on.
Psalms chapter 82 and verse 5. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course.
See that? Sometimes you can see the sun and the moon at the same time. The earth is out of course. Sometimes it feels like it's wintertime and it's summertime. The earth is out of course, man. I remember last year it didn't get cold until like February, man. It was warm all that whole year. The earth is out of course, man. Right? Temperatures are increasing. Right? Wild beasts are changing their places. Right? You got all types of confusion on the earth, man. When COVID, so-called 19 was going on, you had all of these wild animals coming into the cities. Right? They left their natural habitation. You got Esau breeding animals. You got half lions, half tigers. You got half polar bears, half grizzly bears. So everything is confused and out of order, man. Right? You got Jake dealing with the so-called white man. You got us being slaves. Every foundation of the earth is out of course. Right? You got something?
We keep moving.
Let's go on. All right.
This is back to Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 3. 6 years shalt thou sow thy field, and 6 years shalt thou prune thy vineyard and gather in the fruit. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the Lord, a Sabbath for the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard. That which groweth of it on accord of thy harvest shall not be reaped, neither gather the grapes of thy vineyard undressed, for it is the year of rest unto the land.
Right, so you have a whole year of rest unto the land. Right, a whole year of rest. They can come. Oh, Bibles? No, I don't think so.
Verse 7. For thy cattle and for the beasts that in the land shall all increase thereof be meat. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee. 7 times 7 years, and the space of 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto them 49 years.
Right. So let's read that again.
For thy cattle and for the beasts that are in the land shall all the increase thereof be meat.
Right, so when you have this land Sabbath and you're not bringing in and harvesting in the land, you're giving this land, the poor have an opportunity to eat now, man. The Lord has so many laws to benefit the poor and even the animals, man. Right, the animals have an opportunity to eat at full. The poor have an opportunity to eat during this land Sabbath, man. Right, you get the rest. Right, you get a whole year off of work, man. Every 7th year, you got a year off of work. Right, because we wasn't working in the corporate office in the ancient world. Everybody tilled the land, or you were a shepherd, or you had a land, or you had land that you had to break in and plow. So every 7th year, man had a year off, man. And you had to get another occupation, or had your trade that you did.
And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee. 7 times 7 years, and the space of 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto the 49 years.
Right, so do brothers know about the Pentecost? So for Pentecost, a high holy day, Pentecost being a 50, you have to have 7 consecutive weeks plus another day. That's where you get 49 days from. You add another day and it's 50 days. Right? Let's read that real quick in Leviticus 23. But you also have 7 consecutive years for the land Sabbath. Alright?
This is Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 9. Verse 15. Verse 15. You should count until you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought forth the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete.
Right, 7 Sabbaths is 49, right? Because your Sabbath comes in every 7th day. So if you have 7 Sabbaths, 7 times 7 is 49. All right? So this is going to be 49 weeks, right? From dealing with the Feast of Unleavened Bread, you're going to have 49 weeks. And then one more day is going to be your Pentecost, right? So we have to actually count those days.
Verse 16. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord.
And that's where you get the concept of Pentecost from, right? Or the Feast of Fruits. Pentecost being 50, because you had 7 consecutive Sabbaths plus an extra day, which made 50 days. And then you kept that high holy day Pentecost. And you were commanded to keep that. Let's go to Acts chapter 2 and 1.
The book of Acts, chapter 2 and verse 1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place.
Right, so that's Pentecost. The apostles kept the Pentecost. We got to keep the Pentecost. That was Acts 2 and 1. All right. Now, this same concept of counting 7 consecutive 7s is going to be used for a land Sabbath. Salakia. All right, so we're back in Leviticus chapter 25. So it's simple mathematics. It's not hard. It's just 7 consecutive Sabbaths. Let's read that again in Leviticus 25 and 8. Because remember, you had 6 years of work on the ground and 1 year of rest. You had 6 years of work on the ground, 1 year of rest. 6 years of work on the ground, 1 year of rest. All right? You have to count that 7 times. Every 7th year, you have to count that till you did that 7 times. That would make it 49 years. Right? We're reading that in Leviticus 25 and 8.
I'm going to go back to 6.
All right, come
on. 25 and 6 on Leviticus. And the Sabbath of the land shall be meat for you, for thee, and for the servant, and for thy maid, and for the hired servant, and for the stranger that sojourneth with thee.
So it's for the poor of our people and the brothers that dwell in the land.
And for thy cattle, and for the beasts that are in thy land, shall all the increase thereof be meat. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7, and the space of the 7 Sabbaths of the year shall be unto thee 40 and 9 years.
So you have 49 years, right? Let's read on.
Verse 9. Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month, and the day of atonement shall ye make the trumpet sound throughout all your land.
So now, on the 50th year, right? Remember you had the 49 years. Then you had the 49th year and the 50th year. You blow the trumpet on the Day of Atonement. So you have the priest and the men that would take the shofar and blow the trumpet. And the Lord said, thou shalt cause the trumpet of Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month. Right? You brothers know what the Jubilee is? Right? We're going to read about it. Right? And this was done on the Day of Atonement.
Verse 10. And ye shall hallow the 15th year, 50th year, and proclaim liberty throughout the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man to his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family.
Right. Now, we're going to look up this word jubilee. Right? We're going to pull up this word. Jubilee just means a trumpet sound or an alarm. So every 50 years, liberty was proclaimed throughout the nation of Israel, right? Meaning, if I worked for Amos, right? If I was in debt, or if I had to sell my land, or if I had to sell my oxen, or if I had to sell my daughter, or whatever the case may be, that 50th year, all debts were canceled, right? If this brother owed me 50 shekels of silver, that 50th year, that's null and void. That's done away with, right? All debts are liberated on every 50 years in the nation of Israel, right? And that's a perfect law right there, man. You got Esau, he still calling you for debts from 10 years ago, man. 20 years ago. 60 years ago, man. Right? They don't have any year of release in this society, man. But in the ancient world, you had a year of release every 50 years, which was Jubilee.
The definition of Jubilee: a special anniversary of an event, especially one celebrating 25 or 50 years of a reign or activity.
Right, now we want to, see, brother got a Bible dictionary, we can't use this one. That's the only one we got. Alright. I'm going to put this up out the Bible dictionary. Alright, let's go to Jubilee in the Bible dictionary too. Alright. Yeah, tell the so-called white man he been working at his job for 49 years, it's the 50th year, you want off. You done for the day. You done for your life. You don't want to hear that, man. You know? Let's bring that up. Jubilee.
Jubilee. According to Leviticus 25, every 50th year in Israel was to be announced as a Jubilee year. 3 essentially features characterize this year. First, liberty was proclaimed to all Israelites who were within bondage to any of their countrymen. The law provided that the price of slaves was to vary according to the proximity of Jubilee.
Right, so you had a year of release. All debts was canceled, right?
Second, there was to be a return of ancestral possessions to those who had been compelled to sell them because of poverty.
Right, so let's say I had to sell my land because I wasn't able to pay Amos back. Right, well Amos, he got to give me my land back at the year of Jubilee. He can't say, no, Negro, this mine. Come up on that bread. He has to give it back. Right? So everything is a refresh button at the year of Jubilee, man. So that's perfect right there. You don't have perpetual debt, people everlasting in slavery, depression among the people. Everybody's inheritance goes back to them, man. Right? Cattle, land. Whether it was done the 47th year before Jubilee or the first year. Everything has to be restored to the original owner. Right?
Provision was made that the price of real property was to vary according to the proximity of the Jubilee year. The third feature of this year was that it was to be a year of rest for the land. The land was to remain fallow, even though it had been so in the previous sabbatical year. The people were to live simply on what the field had produced in the 6th year and whatever grew spontaneously.
See that? So you have to live off the land. You wasn't able to till on the soil, plant and the soil. Alright, so this year was merciful from the Most High, man. Right? That's a year of mercy that our fathers probably look forward to, man. Right? So let's go back to the book of Leviticus chapter 25. And on a spiritual level, right? And we went into this on a previous cold cut. Let's read Leviticus 25 and 10. And let's apply this on a spiritual context.
Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 10. And ye shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man unto his possession, and ye shall return every man unto his family.
Right, so let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15. So it says, when a trumpet sounds, when a jubilee sounds, you proclaim liberty to the people. Right? So when Yahweh Shah returns, he's coming with the great sound of a trumpet. Right? And we're going to be liberated from Babylon the Great. From the debts we have, from the slavery we have, the servitude that we have. So you have a physical jubilee and you have a spiritual jubilee that's coming. Right? 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and we're going to read verse 50. We can start at 51. Because remember, this jubilee is nothing but a trumpet sound, an alarm from the shofar.
1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 51. Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For that trumpet shall sound.
Like the year of Jubilee. That trumpet shall sound.
And
right?
the dead shall be raised incorruptible.
Resurrection.
And we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality.
So that's a spiritual jubilee that's coming. Right, but we're going to be liberated from the debts and from the slavery of Babylon the Great. It was done on a physical level, but when the Lord returns, it's going to be done on a spiritual level. All right, with that great sound of a trumpet. Because when that trumpet sounds, you're not going to, it's like, you not have to worry about the taxes and the debts that you owe the so-called white man. Right, that loan from college you had, right, or with the IRS keep blowing up your line, man. You know, all that stuff is done away with when the Lord comes back. He's coming to destroy this place, man. So you have a spiritual jubilee that's coming, right? Let's go to Isaiah 27 and 13. You had a question, brother?
Yeah, that verse is talking about the new bodies, right?
God, the new body, the spiritual bodies that we're going to have as we get beamed up into the chariots.
Salakia. And then Esau, they do it in wickedness. After every 7 years, they remove a negative remark on your credit, but you still owe that debt. Right, so your credit score might go up 2 points or 3 points, but you still owe however much money they say you owe. Right, instead of removing that debt, having you live debt free, they continue to pile it on plus interest. So that's usury on top of that. So instead of doing it in righteousness in 7 years, they do it in the complete left hand side. Put you more in debt.
Con.
15 to 7.
Leviticus, it's like Isaiah chapter 23. Well, I'm on 27, so like Isaiah 27 and 12.
Isaiah chapter 27 and verse 12. And it shall come to pass in that day.
That day is when Yahweh returns.
That the Lord shall beat off from the channel of the river unto the stream of Egypt.
Meaning he's going to destroy America. The spiritual Egypt. Remember, the Lord said in Deuteronomy 28:68 that we will be brought into Egypt again on ships. Simply because you read Egypt in the Bible don't mean it's talking about the land in Africa. Right? America is a spiritual bondage or a spiritual Egypt.
Unto the stream of Egypt, and ye shall be gathered one by one, O ye children of Israel. It shall come to pass in that day that the great trumpet shall be blown.
Like the Jubilee.
And they shall come which were ready to perish in the land of Assyria, and the outcasts in the land of Egypt, and shall worship the Lord in the holy mountain of Jerusalem.
See that? So our people ready to perish. The Lord said, we damn near not making it in here, man. Right? Get murdered, get shot, getting killed. The Lord said we're ready. And in those days, it's going to be as though no man would survive, man. Right? That's what the Lord said. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth. There's going to have a lot of Israelites being persecuted by the so-called white man in the last days, as if we were ready to perish. But the point is, in Leviticus 25, it speaks about the great sound of the trumpet and the Jubilee, and that liberty is going to be proclaimed throughout the entire nation. All right? Now that was done. Let's go to Revelation chapter 4. All right, let's go to Revelation, the 4th chapter. Let's go to the book of Revelation, chapter 4 and 1.
Revelation, chapter 4 and verse 1. After this I looked and beheld, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were a trumpet.
Right, and that's Yahweh, right? The sound of many waters.
Talking with me, which said, Come up hither, and I will show thee things which must be hereafter.
So Yahweh, his voice is known as that trumpet. So let's go to Luke chapter 4 and 17. So Yahweh's voice is known as the trumpet. So when Yahweh taught our people, he came to preach liberty to the captives. That's in the gospel. All right? So even this was done on a spiritual level 2,000 years ago.
The book of Luke, chapter 4 and verse 17. And there was delivered unto him the books of the prophet Isaiah.
Which is Isaiah.
And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. And he hath sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised.
To set at liberty, like the Jubilee. Right? To set at liberty them that are bruised. Is it on
to
that?
preach the acceptable year of the Lord.
Right. So that's what, oh, we can go on.
Okay. Verse 20. And he closed the book, and he gave it again to the minister, and sat down. And the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. He began to say unto them, this day is the scripture fulfilled in your ears.
He said, this day, right, it's the scripture fulfilled in your ears, because Yahweh Shah was preaching liberty to the captives, man. Right? Is that talking about physical captivity? And he was preaching to the people. What type of liberation? Spiritual liberation. Right? What did they have to be liberated from?
Bondage, lies.
I mean, what is the right bondage? What bondage?
Lies.
Lies. Right? Let's go to 1 Peter 3:19. Let's see. So the Lord came to preach liberty to the captives. 1 Peter chapter 3 and 19. I looked at right there. Right, 1 Peter 3 and 19. Brothers there?
Right after the book of James.
Come. 1 Peter chapter 3 and 19. Come.
The book of 1 Peter, chapter 3 and verse 19. By which also he went and preached unto the spirits in prison, which sometimes were disobedient, when once the long suffering of Yahweh waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was a preparing, wherein few, that is 8 souls, were saved by water.
Right, so Yahweh Shah went to preach to the spirits in prison. Now, that don't mean the Lord went and asked the Roman governor, can I visit these Israelites, man, that were taken captive? And he went to prison cells, and he was on the other side, and they was on the other side, and he picked up the phone, and then they picked up the phone, and, and he was talking to them. And he opened up the Bible and was preaching to them. That's not what it's talking about, man. Right? The spirits in prison represents your spirits in these bodies. Right? Subject to sin. Subject to the flesh. Right? That's what you are. That's the prison that you in. Right? We're servants of sin, and we're servants under these fleshly bodies, these corruptible bodies. Right? So that's what it means. They came to preach liberty to the captives, to deliver us from sin. That's why I said, you should know the truth, and what? And the truth shall make you free. Right? That don't mean necessarily free from America, right? But it means free from like the brother went to, lies, sin, this corruptible body, right? That's what the word was meant for. Not for your body, it was meant for your spirit. All right?
This is the book of Jude, verse 5. I would therefore put you in remembrance, though you once knew this, how that the Lord, having saved the people out of the land of Egypt, afterward destroyed them that believed not. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains, under darkness until the judgment of the great day.
So the Lord called our bodies everlasting chains of darkness. Right? That's what the Lord called us. All right, let's go to Isaiah 42 and 7. What you got there? The last one?
Jude.
That's the book of Jude, verse 5. Now we're going to Isaiah chapter 42 and 7. Right? So we have it bad in Babylon. Babylon the Great, this land is prison. Right? You may be at your job, it may feel like slavery in prison. Right? Well, it is slavery in prison. You got Jake in actual prison. Why they in prison? And they prison into sin and a prison to these bodies, man. Right? Right. So let's bring that up in Isaiah 42 and 7.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 42 and verse 7. To open the blind eyes, to bring out the prisoners from the prison, and them that sit in darkness out of the prison house.
And that's what the Lord is doing, man, through this word. He's opening the eyes of the blind. Right? Jake with his 20/20 vision is still spiritually blind, man. With his glasses and contacts in, he's still blind, because he doesn't understand his way that he's going, man. It's like that he's going. He's stumbling, he's going into obstacles. Jake, when we say Jake, that's Jacob, the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American man is in every religion under the sun. We dealt with a brother yesterday who said he was Malcolm X. Well, Malcolm X is dead, man. He said, I'm Detroit bred, I'm Malcolm X. The Lord sent me out here to be the prophet. No, the Lord didn't send you out here, brother. Well, he did send you out here, right? But he sent you out here on the left-hand side, right? To be wicked. The left-hand side is wickedness, right? So let's bring it up.
This is Baruch chapter 3 and verse 7. And for this cause thou hast put thy fear in our hearts, to the intent that we should call upon thy name and praise thee in our captivity. For we have called to mind all the iniquity of our forefathers that sinned before thee. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments.
See that? The Lord said, what is it, August 3rd, 2020? October, so we are yet this day in our captivity, man. You got Jake saying we free. I'm glad it's Juneteenth, right? I'm glad slavery's over, right? Well, brother, you still in slavery, brother, right? We are yet this day in our captivity. Don't you got to pay taxes, right? Isn't your birth certificate, doesn't that make you a part of this Babylonian corporation, right? And your social security, right? Don't you have to have a passport to leave the country, right? And a license.
ID.
Right. A license gives you freedom. Right? That's the definition of a license. Right? So you still a slave, man. An ID, like the brother said. You gotta ask the so-called white man, can I live here? He'll say, look, you can live in this area, but you can't live over here. Right? So Jake, you think you free, you in captivity.
You can even have your identity stolen.
Right. So you're in complete bondage, man. Right? Let's go to Matthew 17 to 24 real quick. More on that.
And to be subject to payments according to all the iniquity of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our God.
You see that? So you're in perpetual debt. Alright? You're in perpetual debt in Babylon the Great, man. Let's go to Matthew 17 to 24. Let's see what Yahushua said. Let's see if he was free. Yahushua was in captivity, man. Right? The world though, when you look up Sweet Jesus in the movies, they don't make you seem as that man's in slavery, man. He's walking around smiling, playing with rabbits, kids sitting on his lap. You would think that man is in oppression. But the true Lord Yahushua, he was in slavery, man. Under the Roman Empire. You want to read that?
Matthew chapter 17 and verse 23. And they shall kill him. 24, Salaki. And when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter and said, Doeth not your master pay tribute?
Right, now tribute, if you're paying tribute, that's taxes, that's slavery. In the ancient world, when nations conquer nations, either you can put them in hardcore physical slavery and make them follow all of your ways, or you can allow them to practice their own customs and put them in tribute, meaning they have to pay taxes to you, right, or pay you a certain quota each year. Like I believe the king of Moab paid King Solomon, I believe like 10,000 sheep and oxen every year, because they was in slavery, they was in captivity. So anytime you have to pay tribute to your enemy, that means you're in captivity. We pay tribute to the so-called white man. Right? Look at your check. Right? Federal income tax, state tax, right? Insurance. Right? Or you just eat up all your money, man. Gross pay, net pay. Your gross check be like $2,000, you only get $900. Right? See that? Right, what we got? What's more than that?
Good.
So they asked Yahushua, does the Lord pay taxes? Right? And they're asking this to see if they can get him caught up. Because if the Lord say he's not paying taxes, they might say, look, well, that's treason. And if they say, well, you do pay taxes, they might call him a coon. Right? So they trying to put him in between a rock and a hard place. Right? Does he pay taxes? Is he a coon? Or is he against the Roman Empire? Is he going to commit treason?
Yeah, he would have been considered a zealot then.
Right, so that's why they're trying to trip him up. So let's see what the Lord said.
Matthew 12 and 25.
17.
17 and 25. He said yes.
He said yes.
And when he was come into the house of Yahushua, prevented him, saying, What thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth each take custom or tribute?
Right, so when Peter was about to walk in the house, Yahushua kind of stopped him and said, well, look, who do the Romans tax? Right?
Of their own children, or of strangers.
Do the Romans tax their own people or the people they have in captivity?
Peter said, "But to him of strangers."
Said the Romans only tax the people they have in slavery. Right? Go on.
Yahweh shall say unto him, "Then how are the children?"
No. Says then
It's like it. Yahweh shall say unto him, "Then how are the children free?"
no, it's like you're trying to read it again.
Peter said unto him of strangers.
Then are.
It's like it. Yahweh shall say unto him, "Then are the children free."
Says then are the children free. So the children are free, right? But the Israelites wasn't free because they had to pay taxes. They had to pay tribute. So if you wasn't a citizen of Rome, you was considered a slave, right? A tributary. So it's telling you straight up that Yahweh was in slavery, right? A so-called black man in slavery under the so-called white man, right? Working, paying, right? Peter, John, James, they were all slaves under the Roman Empire, all right?
Notwithstanding, least we should offend them. Go down to the sea and cast in the hook and take up the fish that first cometh up. And when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money. That take and give unto them for me and thee.
You see that? So I'm gonna pay these taxes anyway so we don't offend them. That's what it says, render unto Caesar the things that be Caesar in Luke 20, and the things that be of the Most High, give it to the Most High. Right? A lot of you, I'm an Israelite, I'm not paying these bills, man. I ain't paying, no, take care of that and serve the Most High, man. Right? So let's bring that out in Leviticus. You got some notes, King? Alright, so we're going through the laws dealing with debts, redemption, and in Romans and say every 50 years, all of your debts go free. Alright?
This is Romans 13:1. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but Yahweh. The powers that be are ordained of Yahweh.
Right, let your soul be subject to the higher powers. Who are the higher powers in this society? Esau. The Lord said being subject to the higher powers. That means you can't say, well, I'm an Israelite, I'm going to go blow up the White House. Because the Lord dealing with me.
Romans 13.
Right? I know all these precepts. Let me take down the police department. Right? In the name of the Lord. No, the Lord not dealing with that, man. Right? That means, look, obey the, stop at the stop sign, put your seatbelt on, you know. Be subject to the higher powers, man. Yeah. Well, and Paul was telling these brothers this chiefly in Rome, because you had a lot of that going on in Rome. You had a lot of zealots in Rome. You had the Sicarii in Rome, not the camp, but an actual political faction that was assassinating top Edomite politicians. And a lot of them brothers in Rome was getting caught up in that. And Paul said, look, hey, look, don't go into that route, man. All right, just like now you have militant Israelite groups, they'll pick up guns, right? They take rifles to camp and they book back, right? If something pop off.
The NFT, or the NFC.
Yeah, the NFC. The, what's that guy? That bald guy.
Grandmaster J.
Yeah, Grandmaster J. Yeah, Grandmaster J, man.
Right.
You know? The Lord not dealing with Grandmaster J.
You got the, what they call it? The Moors, the people who want to proclaim liberty.
Yeah. Yeah, and they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, the law, the land, and the sea, all that foolishness.
With their flag, they got the Star of David flag with its black, red, and green. If you show them this flag, nothing will happen to you. The Lord not dealing with that, man. Right.
Verse 2.
It's like you had a brother calling on the name of the Lord and still got jammed up in the video, man. Yeah, he was calling for the name of the Most High and still got jammed up. Right? Because you got to keep the commandments, man. Agree with thy adversary quickly, and when thou art in the way with him, man. Esau put you over. Don't be giving Esau a finger, man. And you're not an Edomite. Edomites can get out the car when they get pulled over.
Right.
They get out the car and they be wrestling. They be sizing them up and then Esau be running from them and be madness, man. Jake, as soon as you get up, as soon as you reach for the door handle, man.
Firing you 20 warning shots at you.
Cops got clout.
Yeah.
Esau jumped on the cop, the two cops, and
Right. Yeah, he's gone. He's an American hero. That's what they say. He stood up to the police. See, this place is off, man.
He was an angel as a kid.
Right. Let's bring that up. You got more?
Verse 2. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of Yahweh, and they that resist shall receive to them damnation.
That's why Jake be getting put to death, man. Right? They get pulled over. The first thing they do is set up their camera. And they learned all of these laws from the Library of Congress, and they want to put all of these laws. Well, according to this, you can't pull me over. I'm a free citizen, right? And they be quoting all of this stuff and get jammed up, man. Instead of getting out of that situation and keeping your life.
Verse 3. For rulers are not terror to good works.
Right, so like you don't have to worry and fear the devil cracking down on you if you keeping the commandments. That's what it's saying. A lot of Jake get jammed up, right? Can I get a quick precept real quick? And Psalm, let me get this, I put it, Psalm chapter 125 and 3. A lot of Jakes get jammed up by Esau because they be off, man. Right?
That's a key point in this chapter. You don't have to worry about the terrors because if you keep the commandments, the Lord says the angels encamp around those that fear him. So you don't have to worry about Esau running into your house and shooting you up. If you're not out there selling drugs, you're not committing adultery, breaking the Sabbath, the Lord is going to make sure you're protected these last days.
And this is Psalms chapter 125 and verse 3. Quick precept on that. Right? The book of Psalms chapter 125 and 3. It reads, the rod of the wicked shall not rest upon the lot of the righteous, lest the righteous put forth their hands unto iniquity. So the rod of the wicked, the rod is used for discipline and punishment and judgment. So what's the rod of the wicked? His guns, his police force. The Lord said the rod of the wicked will not rest upon the lot of the righteous, unless the righteous put forth their hand to iniquity. So meaning what? Hey, as soon as you put forth your hand to sin, here come Esau ready to slap you down, man, with his rod and jab you up. Right? Why did this happen to my son? Why did the police pollute? Why he was out there selling dope, man? You know? Talking about I want to be the next NBA young boy. Drive-bys, man. Yeah, he was going off, man. Right? And he was such a good boy. He had a 4.0. He was on the basketball team. The Lord don't give a damn about him being on the basketball team. He was a starting point guard. He was into all of the fundraisers in elementary school, but he was out there committing adultery, man. Right? Not keeping the high holy days, smoking the blunt, popping Percocet, then getting the damn 3.8. Well, the Lord destroys the wicked, man. Right? That's why the Esau, he's called the sword in Psalm 17 and 13. Right? He's called the sword. Deliver me from the wicked, which is thy sword, from men that are thy hand. Alright?
For the rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same.
You see that? Like the Lord said, keep thee far from the man that has the power to kill, man. Right? Let's get that. The Lord said, keep thee far from the man that has power to kill. Right? Don't be going setting up camp in front of the police department. Right? And they ask you to move, don't trespass. No, this is my land. You stole this land. Right? Then you're on camera, yeah, we're doing the work of the Lord, man. Got the police, well, brother, you're in front of the police department, man. Right? And Jake, you can't be simple in this thing either, man. You can be wise and still be simple. Right?
That was 12 and what?
What? That was,
What was we looking for? That was,
well, keep thee far from the man that power to kill. That's in Sirach chapter 8 and 13. I mean, not 9 and 13.
Sirach 9 and 13. Keep thee far from the man that hath power to kill, so shalt thou not doubt the fear of death. And if thou come unto him,
if you come near Esau,
make no fault.
To make no fault. Don't be getting out the car and running and asking, I got a question for you. Right? Make no fault. Let's what?
Least he take away thy life presently.
That's in the Bible.
Remember that thou goest in the midst of snares.
8 and what?
And snares, and that thou walkest upon the battlements of the city.
Remember, this society set up for the snares and traps, man. to entrap you, man. This place is against you. Remember that, man. You're not no so-called white man. You're not an Edomite. That's what the Lord is saying, man. Remember, they call you a Negro, man. And let's go to Isaiah 10:1. Right? They call you a black man, and you walk upon snares, and wherever you go, it's a trap. You got to know these traps, man. You got to know how this society get down. Keep you far from the man that has power to kill.
Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievous which they have prescribed.
Right, meaning, woe to them that make unrighteous laws and unrighteous commandments. Right, prescribed meaning right. Right, so death and destruction to men that write laws that are for one people, but condemn another people. Right, death and destruction to those that validate the righteous, validate the wicked and condemn the righteous. Alright? That's what the Lord is saying, man. Like in Psalms 94:20, the Lord said, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law. So these laws are all backed and rooted off of mischief, man. And if you eat the fruit of it, then you know where it came from. You know? So we can go back to Leviticus 25. Alright, we back in the book of Leviticus, the 25th chapter. So the scriptures cover everything, man. When in Christianity did the pastor say stay away from the so-called white man when he has power to kill, man? They don't tell you that. Love. Just love him. We can overcome with love. Didn't Martin Luther King say that? I believe he said we can overcome them by love. Right? But the Lord not dealing with that either, man. Alright? So let's bring that up. He wanted to join hand in hand with him. He had the dream that little boys and girls was holding hands.
One of their uncles shot him.
And you see that? And how did that play out? You know? And the Lord said, I have heard the false prophets that say, I have dreamed. You know?
So like you look at the scriptures. Judas conspired with the Romans. And what happened? What was his end? Right, to crucify the Lord. He ended up killing himself. Right. So anytime you join hand in hand with your enemy, the outcome is never positive on your end. Right. It's always death and destruction.
Right. Right. That's what absolutely right.
Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 14.
11.
We're in 11?
God.
Jubilee.
Let's read 10 again, Bible to show.
Verse 10. And ye shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof. It shall be a jubilee unto you, and ye shall return every man into his possession. Ye shall return every man unto his family.
So when the Lord redeems us, we're going to return back to our homeland, our possession. Right?
A jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you, and ye shall not sow, neither shall thou reap which goeth of itself in it, nor gather the grapes in it of thy vineyard undressed.
So you can't gather in the increase in the year of Jubilee. Just like the 7th year, these sabbatical years, every 7th year, you cannot gather in the increase.
For it is a Jubilee. It shall be holy unto you. You shall eat the increase thereof out of the field. In the year of this Jubilee, ye shall return every man unto his possession. And if thou sell aught unto thy neighbor, or buyest aught unto thy neighbor's hand, ye shall not oppress one another.
Right, so again, if I sold Amos my land, he can't hold on to it after the year of Jubilee.
Right.
When I say, I'm not keeping that commandment. This is mine forever. He would be oppressing me, man. So if you hold on to perpetual debt, that's oppression, man. If you don't give mercy and allow that brother the opportunity to redeem things back and buy it back, then that's oppression. And the Lord says, surely oppression maketh the wise man mad, man. Right? Jake, you got to pay all these bills, got to go to work, man. Esau eating up your check. You got to work double overtime. You got 2 vacation days and 5 sick hours. You know? A year. Right? So we back at it.
Verse
15.
According to the number of years after Jubilee shalt thou buy of thy neighbor, and according unto the number of years and the fruits he shall sell unto thee. Right,
meaning whatever you buy leading up to the year of Jubilee, it still has to be. If I buy from Amos 5 years before the year of Jubilee, right? I still have the opportunity to redeem my land back. If I want to buy my land back, as we read on, 5 years before the year of Jubilee, I can buy it back, but I have to pay him for what that land may have produced those 5 years leading up to Jubilee. All right, that's what it's going into.
Leviticus 25 and 16. According to the multitude of years, thou shalt increase the price thereof, and according to the fewness of years, thou shalt diminish the price of it. For according to the number of the years of the fruits, doeth he sell unto thee.
Right.
Ye shall not therefore oppress one another, but thou shalt fear thy God, for I am the Lord thy God.
And sometimes you got Jake at your job that oppress you, man. Right? Looking down on you, man. Trying to cool for the so-called white man. Writing you up, right? Checking you out, sizing you up every day. Right? Your brothers experienced that before, man. That one Jake, man, who trying to get up top, man, get late. Right? Writing you up, you know? Going to Esau behind your back. It's always that one Jake that's trying to oppress you. You got something?
God, this is Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 31. He that oppresseth the poor reproacheth his maker, but he that honoreth him have mercy of the poor, on the poor.
That's a good precept, right? That's a good precept right there. So if you oppress the poor, you reproach your maker.
Proverbs 14 and 31.
So that show you Esau, when you reproach somebody, meaning you're against them, you dislike them, you hate them. So therefore Esau hates the Most High, because he oppressed the poor. And we're the poor, right? Rather you make 6 figures or not, the Lord still classifies you as the poor. He put you in that category, right? Poor, the Lord said in James 2 and 5 that he chose the poor of the world, rich in faith, you know?
Verse 18, Leviticus 25 and 18. Wherefore ye shall do my statutes and keep my judgments and do them, ye shall dwell in the land safety. And the land shall yield her fruit, ye shall eat your fill and dwell therein in safety. And if ye shall say, what shall we eat the 7th year? Behold, we shall not sow nor gather in our increase.
Right, because Jake make it simple and lack faith and say, well, we can't plant in the 7th year. We can't gather in the increase. Well, what are we going to eat? How are we going to eat the 7th year if we can't plant and soil and work until the ground and gather in grapes and fruit? How are we going to survive, Lord? Well, the Lord about to give you the answer.
Verse 21. Then I will command my blessing upon you in the 6th year, and it shall bring forth fruit for 3 years.
Right, so you worried about hold on, brother, it's lucky. You worried about the 7th year. The Lord said, well, in that 6th year, before you can't go and gather in the 7th year, I'm gonna give you fruit for 3 years. So when that 7th year come, you got food for 2 more years, right? And then when that 8th year come, when it's time for you to plant again, you still got 1 more year of increase, man. So the Lord looked out for you, man. So you never have to worry about nothing. That 6th year come before you got fired, right? The Lord supplied you with 3 more years of yearly increase, man. You got your yearly wages times 3 the year before you got fired. So you don't have to worry about a damn thing with the Most High, man. You know? You got something, brother?
I was just asking, so every 7th year, when you were talking about this, you had to let land rest, that means that you can't plant after that year.
Come.
Today.
No, I mean, well, this is in the ancient world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much impossible to find out what year we are now, right? Now, if you have your own land, and you say, well, look, the 7th year, I'm going to let my land rest, well, that's good, brother. You keeping the law, So we can go back to that. So you see the blessings of the Most High, man? He said in the 6th year, I'm going to give you an increase for 3 years. So don't worry about that 7th year, man, because you didn't have that the year before,
Verse 22. And ye shall sow the 8th year and eat of old fruit until the 9th year, until her fruits come in, you shall eat of the old store.
Right, so when that 7th year come, remember, you got 2 more years of food, man, left over. Now the 8th year come, the year of release is over. Now you begin to soil. Plant. You don't even have to worry about gathering in for that year, because remember, you have 1 more year from what the Lord gave you the previous year, man.
the land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, for ye were strangers and sojourners with me.
Right, so you can't sell your land forever, right? You can't say, well, and Jake does, a lot of Jakes do that, right? Let's go to 1 Kings 21:1, right? I always tell brothers, if you have land, don't sell that land to the so-called white man. Don't sell it, keep that land in your family, man, right? A lot of Jakes still sell their land for paper money, man. Right? When that value of that money goes down, man, and can increase the jump, but that land lasts forever, man. That land is worth whatever you want it to be worth, man. You know?
The book of 1 Kings, chapter 21 and verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that Naboth the Jezreelite had the vineyard which was in Jezreel hard by the palace of Ahab king of Samaria. And Ahab gave unto Naboth, saying, Give me thy vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near unto my house.
Right, so the king said to this man, look, I want your vineyard, I want your land. It's right next to my palace, I want your land.
And I will give thee for a better vineyard than it, or if it seem good to thee, I will give thee the worth of it in money.
I'll trade it for a better field, or I'll buy it from you.
And Naboth said to Ahab, The Lord forbidded me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers unto thee.
You see that? So that's how our fathers was, man. Right? I'm not giving you the inheritance of my fathers, man. So that's called integrity, man. Because Naboth understood the longevity of having that land, man. He'd give it to his son and his son and his son after that, man. Why would you sell your land to another man that his seed can have it forever, man? Right. You can't sell that forever, man. Right? So if Amos, if I felt hard on times when I sold Amos my land, I have to get it redeemed. I have to have the opportunity for me or the nearest of kin to come purchase that land back and bring it back in my inheritance. All right? So, you got something?
No, I was just reading on that.
And then when you read that chapter, Ahab got mad that he was being righteous. Then Jezebel killed that man.
Right.
She conspired. When you read 1 Kings 21, she had a council to kill that man who didn't want to sell his land.
Wrote a letter in the king's name.
Yeah, and got 2 false witnesses to say that this man was worshiping other gods, man.
Like the United States did with the western states.
Come.
But it was Mexico. They rolled up that paperwork.
Right.
You know.
And they did that. They did that in the Indian Removal Act. Because you had different tribes that didn't want to sell that didn't want to be removed across the Mississippi. And then you had other tribes that said, look, we want to get down with the so-called white man. So the so-called white man pretty much forged them letters and made it as though everybody was down with leaving the southeast United States and going to Oklahoma, Nebraska, and other parts of the Midwest, man. So that's what this devil do, man.
Was that more so like Gad that had made treaties with Esau and not Reuben?
Yeah, not necessarily Reuben, but more so Gad. Right? The so-called Seminole Indians, they fought to the death. Right? You had some Gadites that did too, you know. And that's why Esau, he had a term called the 5 civilized tribes. When you look into that, because you had a lot of Gadites, Esau called them civilized because they finally assimilated to the way of the so-called white man. But you had a lot of tribes that wasn't getting down with it, man. You know? That wasn't... Esau said the island of Manhattan was sold for 10 beads. Right?
I heard that.
Would you sell an entire island for 10 beads? You see how you make our people look, man? 10 beads, like they cavemen, man. You know?
Man, we were sold for mirrors.
Yeah, mirrors, spices, oil, salt. You know? So we can go back to that. We have Leviticus 25.
25 and verse 23. The land shall not be sold forever, for the land is mine, but ye were strangers and sojourners with me.
So that land really belonged to the Most High. You can't sell the Most High's land, right? So Ahab is wicked, man.
And in all the land of your possession, you shall grant a redemption for the land.
So there should always be an opportunity for a man to redeem his land back. All right?
And if thy brother be waxing poor, and have sold away some of his possessions, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which his brother has sold.
Right. So if I sold my land to Amos and I can't buy it back, and Micah say, well, look, hey, you know he can't buy it back. I'm gonna get the land back for him. Amos can't say no. He the one that owed me, right? He got to come out of pocket. He gonna say no. Let's go to Leviticus 25. He gonna bring that land back to our family, man. Right? So you can do that, man. Can you do that now? No, this man, you can't pay somebody. You can't go to Esau and pay Amos' debt on his name. He gotta have that money. You gotta give him the money. He gotta do it. You can't cover nobody's debt like that. Right? Let's go to Ruth. Let's read about that in Ruth, the 3rd chapter, the 1st verse. Right? When you read the Ruth, it goes into the account of Leviticus chapter 25. Right? Let's go to Ruth. Right? It's rare that we put precepts in the book of Ruth.
I'll never do that.
Yeah, Ruth chapter 3. And let's do 4 instead. Let's do 4.
3 and 4?
4 and 1.
The book of Ruth, chapter 4 and verse 1. Then went Boaz up to the gate and sat him down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spoke came by unto him. He said, ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down.
Right?
And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, sit ye down here. And they sat down.
So Boaz is getting witnesses because something's about to go down. Let's see what goes down.
And he said unto the kinsman of Naomi.
Now, it's like Naomi is an Israelite. But remember, Naomi's daughter-in-law is Ruth. Ruth was married to a fellow Judite, Elimelech. Right? So now, we're going to read on it. Let's go to it.
And he said unto the kinsman of Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, selleth a parcel of land, which was our brother Elimelech.
Right, he said unto his kinsman of Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, because after the famine in Moab, Naomi returned back to the land of Israel, right? And the land was to be sold, which belonged to Elimelech. So you had a brother that had the right to redeem his land back and get Elimelech's land back, right?
And I thought to advertise thee, saying, buy it before the inhabitants and before the elders of my people. If thou wilt redeem it, redeem it. But if thou wilt not redeem it, then tell me that I may know. For there is none to redeem it besides thee, and I am after thee. And he said, I will redeem it.
So he said, look, I'll buy the land back. Because again, if Amos has my land and I can't buy it back, and then Micah, he's next in line. Let's say Micah is my younger brother by blood, same father's side. He has the right to redeem it back. Let's say it's only us two. And he said, I don't want to buy it. So whoever's my first cousin or next in line by blood, he can come buy it. So that's what Boaz is saying. Boaz can't buy this land because you have another a relative that's next in line. The man next in line said, look, I want to redeem the land for Elimelech. Right?
Verse 5. Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance.
Right, Shalaki, let me go to that real quick. We're going to read that again. Right? Let's read that again, Baba Kishar.
Ruth,
Was that
chapter 4 and verse 5. Then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi?
When you buy the field at the hand of Naomi,
thou must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess.
why do you have to buy it of Ruth the Moabitess? Because that's her, that was his wife. So now if you buy this field, you got to get it from Ruth. But since Ruth is not an Israelite, right, and Ruth is the wife of Elimelech, when you read the law, now not only does he have to buy the field, he has to purchase Ruth too. He has to get Ruth. So he has to lay down with Ruth because the law says that when your brother dies, the next brother has to go into his wife and raise up seed for his brother. So it's a two-part deal. And you can buy this land, but if you buy this land, you got to get with Ruth too. He might be like, well, I got to get with Ruth. I got my wives. I don't want to get with Ruth. Now, he may also be thinking about, well, if I buy this land, that's my land, but if I get with Ruth and I have a son, then my possessions have to go to that seed line of Elimelech instead of going to my sons. So now he's kind of between a rock and a hard place, right? I'm not sure if I should buy this land because, yeah, I can have the land, but everything I have is going to go to the seed line of Elimelech and not my seed line. So he's kind of, he's kind of conflicted in this situation, all right? And let's read that. Oh, we can read on. Then we'll go to Deuteronomy 25.
The wife of the dead to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance.
Right. We can go on.
And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar my own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it.
See, he said, I don't want to get down with that.
Right.
First he said, yeah, I'll buy it. He said, hold on now. If you do this, you got to get with Ruth, and your inheritance is going to be given to the seed line of Elimelech. He said, nah, I don't know about that one. You kind of reneged on that. He said, I can't redeem it, man. I don't want to mar my inheritance. Right? I mean, everything, what that means, again, is everything that he had, instead of it going to his son, is going to be put on Elimelech and his family instead. So he will lose everything. Right? Let's get that law real quick, Bible Sean. Or we can read on. You want to read on?
Verse 7. Now this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning the changing, for to confirm all things a man plucketh out his shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was a testimony in Israel.
Right?
Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for thee. So he drew off his shoe.
So that was the manner in the ancient world. When you redeem things and change things to confirm things, a man would take off his shoe and give it to the next man. I mean, and this is yours now, right? You can walk in my steps, you have my land, right? That's what that means.
And Boaz said unto the elders, unto all the people, ye are witnesses day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilion's and Malhan's at the hand of Naomi.
Right? Now, this is the commentary for when a man plucked off his shoe. It says the process of renouncing one's property rights and passing them to another was publicly attested by taking off a sandal and transferring it to the new owner. Right? Like it says, the symbolism emphasizes how a man would now walk in another man's life because he's picking on his inheritance and his possession. Yeah, right? But it was a symbolic bill of sale, you know? We can go on.
Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren, and from the gate of his place, ye are witnesses his day.
See that? So Boaz said, I'll do that, man. Right? Because that's love for your brother, to bring his seed back on the earth, man. Because if you don't raise up seed to your brother, all his possessions are gone, man. Right? But a man may say, look, I want to bring Nachum's possessions back on the earth to his seed line. Therefore, I'm going to show mercy to my brother. Right? So let's get that in
morning. This Deuteronomy, chapter 25 and verse 7.
We're going to actually read about that law in the Bible about a man raising up seed for his brother's stead.
And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go to the gates unto the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel.
So a brother like this man, he may say no. So now the wife, she may put this out there and say, look, he don't want to get down with this, man. Right?
He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of the city shall call him and speak unto him, and if he stand to it.
If they say, look, I heard that you don't want to raise up seed for your brother. If you say, yeah, that's me. Right? If he stand to it.
I like not to take her. Then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders to loosen his shoe from off his foot.
She got to take his shoe from off his foot.
And spit in his face.
See that?
And shall answer and say, so shall it be done unto that man that will not build up his brother's house.
So if you don't want to build up your brother's house, that's a disgrace. and he spitting, and she was spitting his face, man. Right? Probably chalk it all up, stir it all up in the back of the throat, get it all up from up here to the sinuses, and spit right here on his lip, man. You know? And he can't do nothing, because the elders right there, gotta kind of take that. And he gonna have a bad name permanently in Israel, man. Nobody wanna deal trade with him. You don't really wanna deal with that brother. You might not invite him to the feast day. Ain't you the brother that didn't want to raise up seed for your brother?
And his name shall be called in Israel the house of him that hath his shoes loose.
You see that? That's loose shoe. That's what they'll call him, man. Right? Oh, you stay by loose shoe? And everybody knows what that means, man.
Right.
You know? You might have a newcomer that come to the town and say, look, you don't want to stay over there. Loose shoes over there.
Now you're a landmark.
Yeah, now you're a landmark, like the brother said, man. Now your daughter's got a bad name. Your son's got a, that's the daughter of loose shoe. We don't want to marry her. We know how his father gets down. Now the daughters may never grow up without a husband. You know, the sons may never kind of get that name they want because they're the son of a loose shoe.
Nothing loose is good.
There you go. Like the brother said, nothing loose is good. All right, you got a loose garment, that's good. That's the only thing, you got a nice garment. All right, so let's bring that up.
Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 27. Then let him count the years of sale that we already read that. Let's go to
We can
read it again.
yeah, because that goes with 28 on down.
Let him count the years of the sale thereof and restore overplus unto the man to whom he sold it, that he may return all his possession unto his possession.
Right, it says, and if the man have none to redeem it, and he himself is able to redeem it. So let's say Micah can't buy that field back, but I came up with enough money to buy it back, buy my land back. What I have to do is, I can't just buy that land back. Let's say it's 20 years before the year of Jubilee comes, but I buy that land in that 20th year. And Amos is expecting to get increase off that land. So I have to compensate Amos for the years that he's missing in that land. So if I buy it in the 20th year, I got to pay Amos 30 years worth of fruit that he was going to get off that land. Right? That's the overplus. But if I don't want to do that, I got to wait till the year of Jubilee. Right? Now, they kind of do that now with rent. Like if you got to pay, let's say you move into a new apartment, right? When you come into that apartment, you have to pay, if you come in after when the rent was due, right, they'll make you pay, it's what's the word I'm looking for? Is it I think it's prorated, something to that effect. Prorated, right? Esau's concept of a prorated rent goes back to an overplus, meaning you have to pay for that the months that you missed out, plus that first month's rent. That's an overplus. All right, that prorated rent concept goes back to Leviticus 25. You know? So, hey, this devil get all his stuff from the scriptures, man. Then he'll turn it into wickedness. You know? So we can go back to that in verse 20, what we at, 28? God.
But if he be not able to restore it to him,
Meaning, if I can't pay the overplus, if I can't pay them 30 years worth of fruit increase and the price he was going to get, right?
then that which is sold shall remain in the hand of him that hath bought it until the year of Jubilee.
I got to wait till the year of Jubilee if I can't come up with the bread.
And in the year of Jubilee it shall go out, he shall return unto his possession.
Right?
And if a man sell a dwelling house in a walled city, then he may redeem it within a whole year. After it was sold, within a full year may he redeem it.
Right. So as we read on now, we're going into biblical real estate. So, yeah, if you have a house within a walled city, you're going to treat this house financially different than a house in a village. A house in a village is going to be treated differently than a house in a walled city. A house in a walled city, you got 1 year to redeem it. All right? And we're going to find out why these things are different. We can go on.
And if it be not redeemed within the space of a full year, then the house that is in the walled city shall be established forever to him that bought it. Throughout his generations, it shall not go out in the Jubilee.
So certain things didn't go out in Jubilee. Chiefly houses within a walled city. Right? Now, houses in a walled city didn't go out because they're not part of the land. Right? The Lord is going to treat a house in a village as part of the land. If I go build a city in some remote place and I have house within that city, the Lord is not going to hold that as part of the land. Therefore, it's not going to go out in the year of Jubilee. All right, so it's a little bit different. And you kind of had money to live in these cities, man. Because you have to have, if you sold your house, you have to get it back. You know? But if you live in the field, you have more of a grace to get your land back at the year of Jubilee. All right, now if you sold your house and you wasn't able to keep up with the finances, and that was it, man. Because that house belonged to him forever now, to whom you sold it to. And now you got to go back to the village and kind of work and put yourself in the position of servitude to come up with money again. You know?
But the houses of the villages, which have no walls round about them, shall be counted as the fields of the country. They may be redeemed, and they shall go out in the land in the Jubilee.
You see that? So the houses in the villages, they're basically part of the land. All right, so the Lord is kind of against these cities, man, when it comes to the redemption of these houses in these cities. All right, in a city, you got 1 year to redeem your house. If you don't get it back in that year, it belongs to this brother forever. Forever. He could kind of monopolize that, man. Right? But if you're in an unwalled village, hey, I can get it back in the year of Jubilee. You know?
Notwithstanding the city of the Levites and the houses of the city of their possessions, may the Levites redeem at any time.
So the Levites, they got a little more privileges. Right? Why do the Levites have more privileges?
Priests.
They're the priests of the Lord, man. And their land, basically, they wasn't given a possession. Right? Everybody in the back of your Bible should have a map with the 12 tribes of Israel and the allotted lands that the Lord gave them. Right? The brother said, every brother got that in the back of their Bible. You're not going to see a portion given to the land of Levi in there. Yeah, that's a good one right there. If you want to check that one out. Right? But most Bibles have it in the back, colored or black and white. You don't have one of that one, King? You got to get another Bible.
It's not in 1611 either.
It's not a 1611. All right, well, yeah, brother, not that one, but it's one with the 12 tribes in it. Crazy. Right? See if I can pull it up in here. I may just show it in my Bible. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, that's a good one. All right, that's a good one. But when you look that up, yeah, you'll see, for brothers, you know, that's watching, you'll see that the 12 tribes, each tribe has a land, except Levi. Levi doesn't have a land, right? Is that because the Lord not dealing with Levi? No. Let's go to Deuteronomy 10 and 9. Why doesn't the children of Levi have a land? Or why don't they? Right? As the priests of the Lord, it would seem as though they should have a land, but they have a better inheritance in Deuteronomy 10 and 9.
Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 9. Wherefore Levi have no part nor inheritance with his brethren. The Lord is his inheritance, according as the Lord thy God promised him.
So the Most High is his inheritance. Not no land, the Most High. Right? That's what the word Levi means. Levi in the Hebrew is lawyer, which means joined unto me. Right? Meaning the children of Levi are joined unto the Most High. Right? Like Leah will be joined unto Jacob when she got him his third son. All right? So brother, see it on the map, you don't see Levi on there. All right? Because the Lord is his inheritance. That's why he has the priesthood, the offerings, and his dwelling were the suburbs. We want to read that in Leviticus 25. We go on.
Verse 33 of Leviticus 25. And if a man purchase of the Levites, then the house that was sold in the city of his possession shall give out in the year of Jubilee for the house of the Levites, for the house of the city of the Levites are their possession among the children of Israel.
Right.
But the field of the suburbs of the cities may not be sold, for it is their perpetual possession.
So they lived in the suburbs. They lived in the good part. Right? That's where Esau got these suburbs from. Right? He got it from the scriptures, man. And that's usually the so-called good part, man. Right? Where the Edomites dwell at, man. Like in the suburbs. But the Levites dwelt in the suburbs, man, outside the urban area. And they received the increase in the tithes of all of the Levites. All of the Israelites. So 10%, imagine this. You have your land, you have your field, and you're receiving 10% of every Israelite in that region. So you're going to be living good, right? So the Levites, they didn't need to have an allotted land because their inheritance and the tithes that they received belonged to the Most High, but it went to them by default. All right? So you can go on.
Verse 35. And if thy brother be waxen poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him. Yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee.
So if your brother be waxing poor, you can't say, look at this nigga, man.
Right.
Look at this nigga. Broke, right? If you broke, look, they had a song, man, about being broke. I can't remember what they said, right?
Kanye joke.
But something, if you broke, you stupid. Something like that, man. Right? Well, sometimes stuff happen, man. Right? You might have lost your inheritance. You might have lost your job. Your cattle might have died. Pestilence might have hit your family. Right? But if you fell in hard times, you have to relieve your brother. I mean, look, brother, look, I got a job for you, brother. Look, brother, look, you can work in my field, man. Right? So there was never no brother just out here, you know, without no occupation. Yeah, you had to do that, man. Right? So all of our poor of our people, brothers, really supposed to be like, look, brother, hey, look, brother, you can cut the grass. You know, I give you $10, you know, you cut the grass, brother. You know, brother, look, you want to take out the trash. You got to kind of hire that man. All right? And you can't put interest on that man. You're going to read that too.
Take thou no usury of him or increase, but fear thy God, that thy brother may live with thee.
And you can't put interest on that brother. So imagine that. There would be no poor, all the poor of our people would be taken care of, man. They got a year where they can eat good, they can go on your land and take things but not put it into a vessel, and they're relieved, man, you know, of their poverty, because now they can be a worker for you. They can actually live with you, you know, and they can live with you forever if they wanted to, but you have to put an awe through their ear.
Okay, appreciate it.
Come.
This Proverbs 28:8. He that by usury and unjust gain increase, his substance he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. So if you're using usury and you taxing your brother, making your brother do labor beyond what you paying him, you just building up your storehouse for the next man who's just. Right? It's going to be passed on to a man who has, what do they say? They got integrity.
Right.
Those who have integrity, you just building up for the next man.
Right. Financial responsibility.
Right.
You know? So you have to have like the brother said, integrity. Now I'm going to read this Deuteronomy chapter 15. And, man, we're not going to read this whole chapter. I'm going to read Deuteronomy chapter 15.
Verse 12.
I want to read 1. I'm going to read 1 through 4, then I'm going to jump down. This Deuteronomy chapter 15 and 1. It reads, at the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release. Right? That's the year of release. Right? And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor, so you had creditors in the ancient world, right? Right? Bill collectors. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called the Lord's release, meaning those debts are relinquished. Of a foreigner, meaning of the so-called white man, if he's working for you, or the Moabites, or the Africans, of a foreigner, thou mayest exact it again. Meaning they got to owe that. They can't pay that. If they can't pay it in the 7th year, they got to deal with it. They got to cough up the bread. God, the Lord don't love everybody. Because he just said that the other nations, they got to come up with the dough in the 7th year. But your people, let that slide. Yeah, you can put usury on them, huh? It says, but that which is thine with thy brother, thine hand shall release. Save when there be no poor among you, for the Lord shall greatly bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. Now I'm going to jump down. I'm going to jump down to 12 like the brother wanted to go into. And if thy brother and Hebrew man, so your only brothers are Hebrews, or an Hebrew woman be sold unto thee, and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let him go free from thee. And when thou sendest him out free from thee, thou shalt not let him go away empty. Meaning you can't say, brother, you've been working for me for 6 years, go and kick rocks. you got to take care of him even more in the year of release. It says, thou shalt furnish him liberally out of thy flock, meaning give him maybe 30 cattle, right? And out of thy wine press, maybe give this brother 10 flagons of wine. Of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, and thou shalt give it to him. So our people was taken care of in the ancient world, man. Right? Brother got waxed and poor, you relieved him, he worked for you the 6 years. In the 7th year, you let him go, but you gave him a little bit more, man, like a bonus.
That's like a retirement gift.
Kind of retirement gift, man. You know, certain jobs, they'll do you that, man. They'll give you a nice car. They may give you like a $10,000 bonus because you've been working for them. But the Lord said every 6 years that's supposed to go down. Right? So these laws of the Most High are perfect compared to these laws that the so-called white man got, man. You got Jake out here dope, crack, poor. Esau got a homeless shelter, women getting raped, men getting touched by other grown men. There's feces everywhere, right? You get a bottle of water and a bucket of soup a day, you know? It's a long line, you know? People stealing your organs, kidnapping you, right? All manner of wickedness going on. All right, so let's go back to that.
Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 38. I am the Lord your God, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan, and to be your God.
Right.
And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxen poor and be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant.
And you can't put him in hardcore slavery. Right? The other nation you can put in hardcore slavery. You got to treat this guy like Jeffrey from Fresh Prince. All right? He got to kind of have his own room. You know, there's no account of Uncle Phil beating Jeffrey with a whip, man, and tied him to a lamppost. Right? Jeffrey kind of came in there and made his little remarks. He ate good, he lived good, but he was still a worker, man. So that's how you got to treat your brother. You know?
But as an hired servant and as a sojourner, he shall be with thee, and shall serve thee until the year of Jubilee.
Right?
And then shall he depart from thee, both he and the children of him that shall return unto his own family, and unto his possession of his father shall he return.
Right?
For they are my servants, which I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as bondmen.
So we can't have a slave trade where we sell you brothers to this brother right here, man. Right? We get 1,000 shekels of silver, and this guy, he owns you forever. You can't do that. Any brother that's working for you, you have to have the year of release implemented, man. And that's not in these jobs, man. You got brothers that be working for jobs at my so-called job, man. It's people that have been there for 30 years, man. You know, 25 years. And they ain't get no raises, no increase, but they don't know what's going on. They just show up smiling. You know, a lot of these old jakes don't really know what's going on, man. You know, just happy to be here.
It's like when another business buy out another business, then they make the employees conform to another way.
Right.
Verse 43, thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shalt fear thy God.
So when you have your brother working for you, you can't beat him up. That's rigor. You can't take a broomstick and smack him around a little bit. Or you got to respect him. You know, but we're going to find out the other nations, you can do that too. The other nations, let's go to Sirach real quick, 33. Right? We're going to see what the Lord said. You can't rule over your fellow brother with rigor. Right? But these other nations, Sirach, the 33rd chapter, and 25.
Sirach 33 and verse 25. If thou set thy servant to labor, thou shalt find rest. But if thou let him go idle, he shall seek liberty.
Meaning put your workers to work. You don't give them all these breaks, right? Because they're going to start getting ideas, man, and doing their own thing. Go on.
A yoke and the collar do bow the neck.
So put a yoke of iron on. That's what God said. Right? You other nations, the Lord said he's demanding us to put a yoke of iron around your neck. It's going to bow you down and discipline you. Go on.
So are tortures and torments for an evil servant.
See, that the Lord said that a lot of Christians don't like that. Right? The Lord said you can torture and torment your evil servant, man. That's in the Bible. Yes, that's in the Bible, man. So if you had an evil Edomite, you could do your thing, man. You know? Brother, like that back there, man. Yeah, man.
It's coming soon.
Let's go to Sirach 42 and 5, man. Now, they may say, look, I don't want to do that. Why are you doing this to me? Hey, well, look, hey, you're an Israelite, man. They're an Edomite. You know? Sirach 42 and 5.
Sirach chapter 42 and verse 5. And of merchants indifferent selling of much correction of children.
So you're not supposed to be ashamed of, you may seem like, well, I'm correcting my children too much. Let me kind of give them some leeway. The Lord said, don't be ashamed of that. Don't be ashamed of how you deal with trade and business, right? If somebody finesse you, say something about it. There's a list of things not to be ashamed about. What else?
And to make the side of an evil servant to bleed.
See that? God says, do not be ashamed if you're beating your servant and he start bleeding. Don't say, well, I hit him too hard. Right? Yeah, sometimes you got to make an example out of these guys out here, man. Right? If he starts bleeding, you may just be getting warmed up. You know? That just may be part of your regimen. You can't be sensitive with these evil. He's evil. The Lord said, if he's an evil servant, he needs to be punished. And if he starts, like brother said, he gonna start taking advantage of you, man. You gotta, like the brother said, you gotta make an example out of these servants out here, man.
Man, this is a tender area right here too, man.
Yeah.
Your
Like
ribs.
this is though his job. You can't let the worker be yelling at the dog who owns the boss.
Right. He got to work double overtime. You know? So if your evil servants start bleeding, hey, that's fine in the eyes of the Lord. Right? A lot of people kind of left the live stream when they heard that. They left the live. They went from around, a good amount, and about like eight left, man. So I can't get down with that. They keep reading out that red book. Hey, that's the Apocrypha, man. It's part of the Bible. You know? They took that out the church, man. Imagine the Christians asked their pastor, why did God say that tortures and torments are for the other nations? Well, son, where's your money at? Right? You know how these pastors get, man.
It's your money.
Right? So we can go back to that, man, in Leviticus chapter 25. We can read 43 again, Baba Kashar.
Leviticus 25 and 43. Thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shalt fear thy God. Both thy bondmen and thy bondsmaid, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you, and of them ye shall buy bondmen and bondmaids. See that? The Lord said, we so great, you can go around these other nations and buy them for slaves, man. You can kind of do a scouting report. You may have servants, go scout out these servants and see how hard they work. Right? You want to give them a physical, that's fine. Right? If you want to check their regimen, their diet, that's good. Right? You can buy them for your slaves, man. Right? But Esau read that and now he think that's talking about him putting us in slavery, man. No, that's talking about us putting you in slavery, man. Right? Yeah, this is talking about us putting the so-called white man in slavery. We can actually buy slaves. That's why these people say don't read the Old Testament. The God of the Old Testament was violent. Now the God of the New Testament, he's nice. It's the same God, man. It's the Most High.
It's the new old thing.
Right. What you have, brother?
What's being in their shoe, you can't really blame them.
Right.
What they doing. Being in their shoe,
Come.
you can't really blame them for what they do.
Come.
So they say, right? It's just that we are most high people.
Right.
We are the righteous people.
Right. We're the righteous, man. But how we have our servants, what Esau did to us, we're not going to do that to them. Raping, they was buck breaking men, man. Tying them with horses and ripping them apart. Right?
Castrating them.
Yeah, castrating them. Right? Yeah, gator bait. That's not how we're going to run the kingdom of the Most High, man. Everything's going to be done decently and in order. All right?
Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 45. Moreover, of the children of strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you.
You could buy an entire family in the ancient world, man. Right?
Which they begat in your land, they shall be your possession.
Right?
Ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you.
You pass down families in the ancient world. Here, you can have this Edomite family, son. You're at the age of a man now. Right?
after you to inherit them for possession, that they shall be your bondmen forever.
So these are your slaves forever. So now you see these other nations, those are your slaves on the loose. You see an Edomite family, an African, a Hamite family, these Ethiopians walking around proud in the 7-Elevens and the gas stations, the grocery stores. Those are your slaves on the loose, man. It's supposed to be working for you. You know?
But
and these laws are going to be enforced in the kingdom of heaven again. Right? So in the kingdom of heaven, you're going to be buying entire families, brother. You're going to be in your chariot. You're going to be looking down and say, I want that Moabite family. Right? They look like they can do this thing, man. Hey, I want these Edomites. Right? And you're going to pass them down to your children, man. Right? Like they pass down a summer cabin. You know, Edomites, they pass down a winter cabin in the mountains. And, you know, grandma's pearl necklace and the family van, you know, the land. Right? Esau, he'll pass down things, man. Jake don't pass down nothing but depression to their people. You know, they might give them debt. You know, I'm trying to think of something positive.
Less debt.
Less debt. Damn. See that? Stash. Stash. Maybe 100 singles in a rubber band. You know? Yeah, shoebox money. Yeah, that happened to me, man. I got shoebox money, man. That was an inheritance. I got 100 singles and a rubber band. And it was like the greatest thing for the person that he said, look, this is what I have, this is it, man. You know? Yeah, it was bad, man. This is the life we gotta live, man. Right?
And if a sojourner or stranger waxes rich by thee, and thy brother that dwelleth with him wax poor, and sell himself unto the stranger or sojourner by thee, or to the stock of the stranger's family, after that he is sold, he may be redeemed again. One of his brethren may redeem him.
So you can always redeem. If you find yourself in a situation where you have to be a worker for somebody else or another nation, a brother can come back and say, look, bro, I'm going to get you back and redeem you.
Either his uncle or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any that is nigh of kin unto him of his family may redeem him, or if he be able, he may redeem himself.
Right?
He shall reckon with him that brought him from the year that he was sold to him until the year of Jubilee, until the price of his sale shall be according to the number of years. According to the time of an hired servant shall it be with him.
So just the same thing with the fruit. He has to have an estimated amount of value that he would get from this servant leading up to the year of Jubilee, and he would have to pay that. Right? Like if I work for Amos for $20 an hour, but I quit before the year is up, I gotta and the brother want to redeem me, he gotta pay him the money for the end of that year, from the time I left to the end of that year, plus the price of me. Right? And that would be kind of a lot. You know, you have to have money for these redemptions.
And he shall reckon with him that bought him from the year that he sold him until the year of Jubilee, and the price of his sale shall be according to the number of years, and according to the time of a hired servant shall it be with him. If there be yet many years behind, according to them he shall give again the price of his redemption out of the money that he was bought for.
Right.
And if there remain but few years until the year of Jubilee, then he shall count with him, and according unto his years shall he give him again the price of his redemption.
Right, so rather it was 49 years leading up to the Jubilee, or it was 1 year leading up to the Jubilee, you still got to come up with the bread to compensate him for the estimated value that this worker gave him, you know, or that he would have for this work.
And as a yearly hired servant shall he be with him, and the other shall not rule with rigor over him in thy sight.
Right.
And if he be not redeemed in these years, then he shall go out into the years of Jubilee, both he and the children with him. For unto me the children of Israel are servants. They are my servants whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God.
That's Leviticus chapter 25. Laws of land, redemption, Jubilee, servants, handmaids, houses and walled cities, unwalled cities, price value, overplus, biblical economics. Right, you go to these colleges, they got a macroeconomics class, microeconomics, finances, economy 101. Well, the Lord covered that straight up in Leviticus chapter 25. Right, brothers, any questions?
When you really get an understanding of the Bible and kind of the Most High thing, that no one knows how the Most High really
Right.
This is one big movie of the Most High.
Right.
One big movie.
It's one big movie.
Esau tried to depict it in his version.
Right.
One movie also, if you really pay attention.
It's one movie. And the Lord, He's the creator, the director, and the leading star. Right? And the Israelites are co-stars. And Esau, he's a star in this movie, man. But on the left-hand side, featuring the spiritual demon Satan. And the other the nations are extras. Like the Hawaiian man, I mean, he's an extra, man. Right? The Japanese man, they in this movie, but they don't really have that role. The angels, they do the sound effects, the lights behind the scenes. They're the stuntmen, they're the people that come. They're the cameramen, they're the people that hit the action. Right? The demons, they're the stuntmen, because they just like you, but they put the spirit on you, man. So everything works in this movie.
That's why you have that saying. The saying that goes, who laugh last, laugh best. So for instance, he used to know what's going on. So even the same slavery and the same abusement and all those things, he take advantage of it on his terms.
That's right.
It gives comfort too, though, when you think about everything that our ancestors went through. It was our fault, because we were transgressors.
Right.
Like now. But to think about, like, okay, we went through it, but we're not going through it for no reason.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because this thing will turn around. And it is turning around.
It's turning around now. That's why brothers, that's why we doing what we doing now, man. All right, we're keeping the commandments to the best of our ability, coming back to the Most High. Brothers keeping the Feast of Tabernacles, right? Most High willing. Brothers keeping the high holy days, guiding their children in righteousness, right? Teaching the nation and building up this temple in the last days, man. All right. So with that, we're gonna close out until we do the next lesson. All right, we're gonna take a quick intermission and proceed with the next lesson.